expanding their right to abortion. Now, recapping on your top stories, an appeals court has sentenced Mauritania's former president Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz to 15 years in prison for abuse of office and illicit enrichment. Aziz, who came to power in 2008's coup, had appealed his original 5-year sentence after his conviction 2 years ago. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Nsinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Aspirational and empowering stories. This Africa Month on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, the winners of next month's World Test Championship final between Australia as well as South Africa will take home $3.6 million US, while we'll also tell you about the unprecedented Solidarity Fund to benefit the club football. Details coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Thami é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Thami e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
It is exactly 8 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon to you, Ghana. Good afternoon, Senegal, Ethiopia. Good afternoon to you, Botswana. Good afternoon, Africa. Welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa. I'm Thami Ngubeni. Now, this is where you get the African perspective. It's where we meet to look at the latest in news, sport and business. We begin here this afternoon with South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa. He is expected to meet with US President Donald Trump next week in a bid to resolve key differences between the two countries, chief among them being trade. Speaking on the sidelines of the World Union of Wholesale Markets Conference, which is currently underway in Johannesburg, the Chief Executive Officer of Joburg Market, Sello Makobela, said the agricultural sector hopes that President Ramaphosa will push for the removal or the reduction of tariffs on South African exports such as citrus, wine and macadamia nuts to ensure fair access to the US market. Channel Africa's business reporter, Innocent Samosa, has more.
For the first time on African soil, Johannesburg, South Africa is hosting the prestigious World Union of Wholesale Markets or WUM conference, placing the Joburg market, the country's largest fresh produce hub, firmly in the global spotlight. Sello Makobela, CEO of Joburg Market, says the event is not only a platform for collaboration, but also a moment to push key trade priorities.
You must remember that the event itself is the World Union of Wholesale Markets. It's giving bringing all global leaders in terms of the fresh produce industry together in our country. So we've got delegations from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, and from South America. So as WOOM is the network of wholesale market global leaders, we are benefiting as Africa, as South Africa, from the knowledge that is being shared by, for an example, Asian markets in terms of how they do their logistics.
As uncertainty looms over the future of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, Makobela is calling for its continued protection to secure South Africa's agricultural exports.
Look, the geopolitics that exists globally are unfortunately impacting on the agricultural sector, moreover on the fresh produce industry. So we, with the realization of AGOA as well, and the fact that we might lose that act, it might also create a problem in terms of farmers in Africa being able to sustain themselves.
From supply chain insufficiencies to rising input costs, Dr. Justi Range from Fresh Market Systems highlights the hurdles that still needs to be addressed in the sector.
So challenges on the market, obviously operationally, power is a big thing. I mean, power affects everything. I mean, when you deal with food, you deal with cold rooms, you deal with security, and if your power is gone, that's a real problem. Your systems are off, you lose everything with power. So that's the one thing. The second big challenge is obviously infrastructure, maintenance of infrastructure.
And from Africa's budding entrepreneurs, the chairperson of WOOM, FIFA Layani, had this message, one of opportunity, resilience and innovation.
For the entrepreneur, I say, you have to exchange, to export, to be very alert on the market, because you have a lot of opportunity in this conference to have new clients, new way to work, and new way to understand what is the supply chain from the fork to the spoon.
From advocating fair trade to empowering entrepreneurs, it looks like Johannesburg is laying the groundwork for a more connected and competitive agricultural future. For Channel Africa News, I am Innocent Samosa in Johannesburg.
We are telling aspirational and empowering stories. This Africa Month on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Her name is Puleng Mulibati, and she's on Tech Africa.
Leading the tech conversation every single Sunday on Channel Africa.
Robotic process automation, just from a definitive perspective, is a software that emulates human activity for us to be able to remove mundane, repetitive tasks and build efficiency. That's what it means from a definitive perspective. Now, where exactly has this been reused, or has people seen this or familiar with? Now, you'd have seen probably in the automotive industry these big robots that are moving large objects and assembling them. And it's generally to assist the particular production process to be more efficient, and also to be able to avoid any injuries from human activity, to be able to lift these heavy objects that can cause harm.
And one of the key findings I think that stands out for me is that developing market economies and people are using AI much more than developed market economies, which I thought was quite surprising. In fact, in South Africa, amongst the people we surveyed, 91% report using generative AI for their work.
Tech Africa every Sunday, 9 till 12 noon, Central African Time. G20 in Africa, exclusive to Channel Africa.
It is exactly 14 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African Time. The University of South Africa, in partnership with South Africa's Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, have launched the G20 Presidency Community Engagements or Town Hall Outreach Program on Wednesday at the university's main campus in Pretoria. The launch marked the beginning of a series of town hall discussions that were held in provinces across the country as part of the mandate by DIRCO to conduct public participation programs aimed at engaging relevant sectors of society in the decision-making as well as the implementation of departmental and government programs. Maresane Mariri, who is a community leader and an entrepreneur in Soweto, which is south of Johannesburg, South Africa, represented his community at the event. And he joins us live now on the line to give his insights on this G20 inclusivity project. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to African Business. Great to have you with us today.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me.
It's always great to be speaking to members of the community and community leaders and entrepreneurs, specifically when it's around issues of the G20, because one of their mandates is to make sure that the voices of the citizens, the ordinary people on the ground are actually represented, and individuals and groups such as yourself represent that. And I wonder, how do you personally welcome the government's G20 presidency town halls or community engagement programs? What does this mean to you? What do they mean to you?
So I welcome this initiative with cautious optimism. For many of us working in townships, rural areas, and informal sectors, the G20 has always felt distance. So this outreach, if followed through meaningfully, could be a game changer. What makes it powerful is its potential to connect global policy to local solutions. For example, in Meadowlands, we run MUZ7, a safety and environmental forum. But like many CPF structures nationally, it's under-resourced, undermining its ability to reduce crime and promote peace. So if this G20 process helps bring visibility and resourcing to these overlooked structures, then we move from talk to transformation.
And I like the phrase you used earlier on. It's a cautious optimism. And I wonder if I should use that to gauge the answer to my next question, but perhaps not. Let me give you an opportunity. What are your thoughts on its potential to benefit marginalized communities and not just be top heavy?
So first, let's formalize forums like ITDF and MUZ7 as policy partners, not informal players. Second, let's create feedback infrastructure. When communities speak, they should see how their input shape decisions, right? So third, let's link national G20 priorities with local pilot projects. If we say we care about township youth unemployment, then fund 5 township-based yes hubs and let's track the impact. And finally, bring accountability. Let communities rate participation efforts. That's inclusion with integrity.
The country, South Africa, has chosen solidarity, equality and sustainability as the theme for the G20 summit. Do you think that this theme truly reflects the realities as well as the challenges that are faced by marginalized communities on the ground?
I'd say the theme is the right one, but its value lies in how deeply we are willing to live it. Solidarity means seeing township forums and rural cooperatives as equal partners, not mere beneficiaries. Take the Royal Bafokeng Nation, for example. They've shown what's possible when communities are given legal recognition, governance autonomy, and capital control. That's equality in action. We must expand that logic, enable every township and village, not just the well-connected, to build self-sustaining institutions rooted in Ubuntu and local wisdom.
You bring up a really great point there. And I wonder whether you believe that this initiative will be able to foster that meaningful inclusion where communities are not just beneficiaries, but they are genuine partners and are considered an agency in and of themselves. I mean, I'm sure you'll agree with me that often communities do feel left out, they do feel marginalized, especially those who are on the ground. And especially when it comes to global issues like those discussed at the G20. Could you just elaborate on that and just how that tie and that relevance is made between the needs and the concerns of communities on the grassroots level, as well as the objectives of the G20?
So it can, but only if inclusion becomes structural. Consultation without resourcing, without resourcing is consultation without resourcing is not effective. Like forums like CPF, religious networks, and youth clubs have insight and reach, but without financial and technical support, they excluded by design. Inclusion must mean building their capacity, not just capturing their comments. If the G20 process sets up mechanisms for community labs, civic funding models, and localized decision-making structures, we can move from tokenizing to real transformation.
Could you highlight for us exactly how these town halls are structured and how they are organized, the information gathering process?
So from the one that we attended yesterday, it was hosted at the UNISA campus, the UNISA main campus. So there we had various stakeholders like myself from as a community activist, also as a business, as an entrepreneur, and we had other stakeholders from the community. And then we initially had feedback from dignitaries such as the Vice Chancellor and ambassadors. And then we were then given the opportunity as entrepreneurs and business leaders to then ask questions and get feedback from these various dignitaries.
And what is your level of satisfaction on the type of feedback that you did receive? Did you authentically feel as part of the process integrated, or did you feel othered?
No, I mean, the fact that I have this opportunity to speak to you further to that town hall yesterday means that at least at grassroots level, institutions like ours are now given a platform to have an opinion on this global initiative. So I think that this is one step forward, and we feel honored that at least such a platform is being afforded to grassroots organizations such as ours.
Well, we thank you so much for your time and your insight, and we certainly shall wait to see what the outcomes of these town halls will be. We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. That's Marisani Mariri. He's a community leader as well as an activist from Soweto, which is the south of Johannesburg. He's also an entrepreneur. This is a very important part of what the G20 is about. It's not only about the governments of the world. It's not only about the economy and the business of the world, but it's about the communities and the people of the world. And it is initiatives such as these, this town hall, this community engagements run from the presidency that will ensure that it is an all-inclusive process. At least those are the objectives. And according to our guest, Mr. Mariri, he certainly feels that having a platform and having the dialogue open up is in of itself a good start. We shall continue to keep a watchful eye on that progress as the date of November and the month of November continues to creep closer by. We continue our focus on the G20 in just a moment. It is 23 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. We will also this afternoon, once again, as we focus on the G20, look at tourism. That's the G20 Tourism Working Group. It met in KwaZulu-Natal province in South Africa over the weekend, and it is a second such in Durban. Joining us this afternoon is Tasneem Karim, the Chief Director of Communication at the Department of Tourism. And this initiative, this meeting was attended by senior officials, authorities, as well as experts in the tourism sector. And they looked at various priorities that are poised to drive sustainable tourism growth among the member countries. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Africa in Business. Great to have you with us, Chief Director.
Thank you very much, Thami, and it's a pleasure to be with you today.
So I'm sure it must feel like you're making some sort of progress, this being the second meeting of the G20 Tourism Working Group. But put us into perspective for us. What are some of the outtakes, the objectives and the initiatives of the first meeting that were moved forward in this particular second meeting?
Okay, so, it's quite a process when you have a voluntary organization of so many countries to come to, to some kind of consensus on how you're going to take tourism at global levels forward. So the first meeting agreed on what the 4 priorities will be for the final declaration, the final agreement between all the tourism authorities. And those 4 priorities are people-centered artificial intelligence and innovation, which aims to enhance travel and tourism startups. The second priority relates to tourism financing and investment, which must enhance equality and promote sustainable development. The third priority is about air connectivity for seamless travel. And the fourth priority is enhanced resilience for inclusive, sustainable tourism development. Now, as a developing country like South Africa is, these priorities are very, very important for us to see a growing and sustainable tourism sector. So the next meeting, which took place on the 11th to the 13th of May, took forward some of the actions that will be agreed to between the member countries. And the third meeting is intending to crystallize those actions before we take it to the ministers' meeting in September.
And the outcomes of both of the G20 Tourism Working Group meetings, how do they align with the broader G20 priorities for this year?
So they're very closely aligned because, as you may know, tourism is one of the fastest growing sectors in South Africa, but it also contributes greatly to job creation. We by no means are reaching the potential that we could reach. So we want to see a tourism sector that is thriving, that creates jobs, that builds resilience, and is able to withstand any difficulties. So it's very, very closely linked to the core priority areas of the whole G20 summit. And we do expect that, all indications are so far that most of the member countries agree with the priorities, and we will do all we can to assist each other to grow tourism according to these priority areas.
And one of those priority areas that you've just mentioned around people-centered artificial intelligence and innovation to enhance travel. This is also one of the outcomes of the 2025 Africa's Travel Indaba, which we've been focusing on here on Africa in business as well. Could you take us through perhaps some of the new digital or tech-driven solutions that are being explored to simplify the travel procedure?
So the G20 meeting doesn't discuss the detail at that level, but certainly one of the things that was discussed is that there are many businesses who are already embracing technology quite well. What is a big deterrent for smaller businesses are costs. So, the startup costs and making sure that you have technologies which help you whatever instance, whatever you want to do, whether it's making bookings, or whether it's looking at availability, or whether it's looking at AI inspired brochures, or there's so many different options. So the first deterrent is financing, and the second deterrent is technology. So we want to make sure that the technologies that are available in the first world are also available to our startups. So when Thami wants to start up a small tourism organization, whatever it is, as a tour operator, it'll be easy for her to find the kind of technology that she needs and then also to be able to afford it.
Well, Tasneem, thank you so much for updating us on the G20 Tourism Working Group as you continue to make progress. We certainly will be keeping abreast of the developments and the meetings as they go out throughout the course of the year.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Have a good one. Thank you. That's Tasneem Karim. She's the Chief Director of Communication at the Department of Tourism. She takes us to exactly 4:30 p.m. Central African Time, and that was our G20 feature for today.
G20 in Africa, exclusive to Channel Africa, championing Africa through solidarity, equality, and sustainability.
And heading over now to the markets desk for Chanduko Lugege's latest market indicators.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Thami. Good afternoon. $1 is trading at 18.25 in South Africa. In Botswana, $13.45. Namibia, 18 Namibian dollars 25. Zambia, 26 kwacha 60 to the US dollar. In Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 504. Ethiopia, 132 birr 718. Uganda, 3,000 shilling 636. Tanzania, 2,000 shilling 694. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 600. In Egypt, the dollar is 50 Egyptian pound 37. Tunisia, 3 dinar 1. Algeria, 132 dinar 599. Morocco, the dollar will cost you 9 dirham 24. In Angola, the dollar is 912 kwanza. The Congolese franc is 2,850 to the US dollar. Commodities, gold is at $3,190. Platinum at $985 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil, $64.60 a barrel. That is all. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is exactly 4:32 Central African Time. Musibudi Makura standing by with the latest business of sport.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Thami. A very good afternoon from the sports desk. We'll start with the story. So the winners of next month's World Test Championship, a final between Australia as well as South Africa, will take home $3.6 million US dollars following a significant increase in the prize money by the governing International Cricket Council on Tuesday. So the holders, Australia, pocketed $1.6 million US dollars for winning the competition back in 2023 in that final against India, who claimed $800,000 US dollars as the runner-ups in that year's competition. The losers of this competition, starting on the 11th of June and concluding on the 15th of June at Lord's, will get $2.1 million US dollars, more than the winner's purse in the last two WTC finals. The ICC said in a statement earlier today that the increase in the prize money exhibits its efforts to prioritize Test cricket as it looks to build on the momentum of the next three cycles of the 9-team competition. In football news now, apart from the number of teams participating, the prize money allotted for this year's FIFA Club World Cup tournament will also see an enormous rise, and FIFA has confirmed that the prize fund for the competition will be $1 billion US dollars. The prize pot is a significant increase on the rewards available to those competing in previous tournaments, which is a reasonable expectation considering the greater number of teams involved and the enhanced prestige attached. So the tournament will take place in the USA from the 14th of June, concluding on the 14th of July. Let's hear from FIFA President Gianni Infantino.
Yeah, it's a huge prize. It's the best clubs in the world, not the best countries. The countries World Cup will be next year. This year You know, the example I'm always making, one of the best countries in the world is Spain. They won the European Championship. Spain has 50 million people. In the Club World Cup in South Spain, we have Real Madrid. Real Madrid has 1 billion fans all over the world, and these clubs are multinationals. And they will come, they will compete to win an incredible new trophy. That important prize money, $1 billion. Wow. And for the winner, over 100 million. So it's worthwhile.
Meanwhile, the Club World Cup 2023 winners took home about $5 million alongside a trophy, while the runner-ups in that year bagged $4 million. The third place was with $2.5 million, which is $500,000 more than the fourth place team were entitled to. The teams who finished fifth and sixth received $1 million each, and a total of $16 million was shared between the 7 clubs who were involved in that year's competition in Saudi Arabia. So clubs, though no participating in the FIFA Club World Cup, are set to receive a solidarity money of at least $150 million out of a planned tournament budget of $2 billion. The world governing body is then committing $1 billion prize money to the 32 teams competing in this event, with $575 million based on participation and $465 million based on sporting performance. Now, the $575 million towards participation will not just be an even split of $16.4 million between the 32 clubs, for example, but is expected to be graded based on confederation. So the issue has still provoked one of the biggest debates around a so-called controversial tournament, with some stakeholders feeling the money on offer will actively change football. Now, there had been long doubts over whether FIFA would have even been able to offer so much money. Around $850 million will go on costs, itself a potentially political issue given the possible effects on the American economy, and also the cost from the recent decisions of the US President Donald Trump's administration. So that is also why the issue of solidarity money is so important, and it potentially softens the differences. The current plan is for it to be a figure of $150 million, which would then represent around 13% of the total prize money, although there is still hope that that can still be raised to $250 million. It is said to become a highly political issue, with some stakeholders already complaining that the figures won't mean much after they are divided among all FIFA 6 confederations. Well, that's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you would like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Thank you to Chanduko Ligege and Musibudi Makura. They take us to exactly 4:38 Central African Time. Do continue to engage with us on the various social media platforms on X, Instagram and YouTube. You'll find us at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook, we are at Channel Africa. If you have any stories that you'd like to share that you believe would be of interest to our listeners, both on the African continent and in the diaspora, do send us your emails at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Now, as the continent's agricultural sector remains under pressure from rising input costs, extreme weather events, the tightening margins and trade agreement challenges, the annual Nampo Harvest Day, which is currently underway in South Africa's province of Bloemfontein in Bothaville, takes place during a pivotal moment for the continent's farming sector. Taking place under the theme Global Agriculture Locally, this year's Nampo is more than an exhibition. it is a rallying point for real-world farmer-led solutions. The event brings together brings together farmers, agribusiness, as well as finances, and it will be exploring what exactly it takes to sustain growth as well as resilience across the sector. Joining us this afternoon is Head of Agribusiness at Standard Bank Group, Louis van Revenstein. A very good afternoon to you, Louis. Good to have you with us.
Good afternoon, Thami. Thank you for inviting Standard Bank to your news channel. Appreciate.
So why was it important for Standard Bank to be a part of this annual agricultural event?
Thank you, Thami. I think firstly, we've been part of this event for many, many years. This is the biggest agriculture show in the Southern Hemisphere. So definitely important for Standard Bank to be part of this major event. We also have our own link to alignment to the theme of NAMPA this year, and we call it Beyond Borders. And that's also about linking all the countries we are present across the continent at this year's NAMPO. And we brought clients and our agri specialists to the event. So very excited about it.
And can you take us through, Louis, some of the programs that you currently have in place?
Yes, thank you so much. So this year at NAMPO, like I said, we brought our aggregates across the continent and customers. It's all about showing them the technology, the mechanization that's happening. And we've got various initiatives on how we support our customers and NAMPO. We've got our commercial asset finance teams here to support customers who's buying the next tractor, the next combiner. We're supporting climate smart agriculture. It's very relevant. As you said earlier, climate change is impacting agriculture, it's impacting food security, and we are part of solutioning for that on the continent.
And also part of this entire initiative involves an aspect which is called the Standard Bank Agribusiness Transformation Graduation Ceremony that took place at NAMPO. Could you tell us about this program and what it has in store for the graduates?
Thank you, Thami, for asking. We've been supporting this initiative for a number of years. Our Kupane region, which is Free State and Northern Cape, has been working with the University of Free State. And every year we take emerging farmers through a 3-year program. And this year, again, we had a graduation yesterday of this year's cohort, and we're very proud of these emerging farmers that are passionate about agriculture, contributing to food security in South Africa. And even the day before, we had another initiative where we had staff also graduating from an initiative that supports skills development internally, and then our skills with our staff supporting these emerging farmers, we can then contribute to more agriculture, more food in our region.
And there's trade uncertainty, and this has been really topical around the globe about South Africans, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. A lot of uncertainty as to what the future of that will be. We're also looking at shifting global trade dynamics. And this has created a growing urgency to expand regional trade and also to create new pathways for the African produce into other global markets. What role do you, as Standard Bank, play? And also perhaps it may extend this. What role can the African Continental Free Trade Area play during this particular period?
Yeah, I think absolutely very topical, the tariffs that's changing every week, every day. The USA is a very important market for South Africa, and we want to continue with that relationship. So we need to work with industry players, with government, and ensure that the exports to USA continue for South Africa. From a continent perspective, even South Africa, we export over 40% of our exports internationally into Africa regions, which is the rest of Africa. With the Standard Bank footprint across this network, we can definitely play a role in connecting South African farmers and customers and processes into the continent, and also vice versa. How do we connect, like you said, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement it counts both ways. How can we take produce from East Africa to West Africa, from Sub-Saharan Africa back to South Africa? So we can do a lot more trade across Africa, and intra-Africa trade is part of this initiative. It's part of why we are here, to connect customers, connect the countries with each other. And then also internationally, we've got relationships with China, which is the fastest growing and the largest importer of agricultural produce in the world. With our relationship with ICBC in China, we can connect African countries into China. We have to continuously look for new markets.
The other side of that, and the flip side of that, is domestic food security. South Africa does export over half of its agricultural production by value and nearly 26% by volume. And how critical is resilience in this particular sector in the face of the global dynamics and the global shifts that we've just been discussing now? And I ask this in terms of both policy and innovation in ensuring that South Africa has enough for itself and that the nation remains fed.
Very good question, Thami. Firstly, South Africa is a net exporter, so we focus on exporting our produce across the world, but at household level. So we are food secure at national level, we are food insecure at household level. And that talks more about poverty, household income. And again, agriculture plays a role there. If we can grow, we can employ more people, and from employing more people, people can afford more food. We also need to bring in efficiencies, bring down the cost of food, and that people can afford it. So we definitely play a role through industries, through policy, through working with government, improving our sustainability in agriculture to solve this matter of household food insecurity.
Very important issue and very important challenge there to be focusing on. We thank you for your insight and your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Thami.
Thank you. That's
Cheers.
the head. Have a good one, sir. That's the head of agribusiness at Standard Bank Group, Louis van Revenstein. He takes us to exactly 4:46 Central African Time.
Have you been struggling to find Channel Africa?
Oh yes, where can I find you guys?
Well, you are in luck.
Warning, radioactive zone detected.
Listen to the African perspective on our brand new SABC Plus app. Download the fresh and easy to use app from sabcplus.com or the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Or just command your phone to find SABC Plus on your phone and check out all this good stuff. And that's where you will find Channel Africa, the African perspective. Oh yes, this is fresh and easy. Out and About with Puleng Mulibatsi.
Patricia Delil with us talking about just the growth and the development that South Africa is experiencing in terms of the tourism sector, which is also one of the driving contributors to the growth of the South African economy. What would you say are factors that are driving the positive trajectory in South Africa's tourism sector, Minister?
The whole value chain. And, I always get feedback to say that, South Africans are so friendly, the Ubuntu spirit. So our people are our biggest asset. And what we've also seen is that South Africa's value for money, and that we are eternally grateful for our African brothers and sisters. Because in 2023, we received 8.5 million visitors, and 6.5 came from the continent.
Minister of Tourism, Patricia Delil.
Out and About comes to you every Saturday, 9 till 12 noon, Central African Time. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
Now, insurance company Hollard has just made two major acquisitions, one with Global Alliance Seguros in Mozambique and another with ABSA Life Botswana. Both transactions form part of a broader deal with ABSA Group, which includes the acquisition of ABSA's insurance business in Mozambique and Botswana. This is part of Hollard Group's strategy to grow its African footprint. For more on this, we are joined this afternoon by CEO of Hollard, Praveen Kalpage. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Africa in Business.
Hi, Thami. Thank you for the time, and I look forward to chatting to you.
So, what would you highlight as perhaps some of the main factors that drove the decision for Hollard to acquire both the companies, and why specifically in these two particular markets?
Tom, so Hollard International is a company that really believes in the opportunity for insurance on the African continent. And I think in Southern Africa, we've got businesses in Namibia, Mozambique, Botswana, Zambia, and Lesotho, and then in Ghana, and we've also got an investment in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. Now, the reason for these specific markets is that we already have businesses there. There's an opportunity to scale up the businesses, and ABSA as a partner in terms of already having a bank and a bank network and a distribution network provides a really good opportunity for us to be able to access customers who may not have had access to insurance before.
Looking at ABSA and maybe looking at the South African market, do you have a pre-existing relationship with them? Are they offering their insurances through Hollard in South Africa?
We have had associations with ABSA in South Africa before, and we do have a relationship with them in South Africa. But the rest of the continent, these acquisitions are pioneering in that sense. And in addition to Mozambique and Botswana, we've also just concluded a transaction to buy their life business in Zambia, which should go live in June.
And how do these moves position Hollard against its competitors in the ever-evolving insurance landscape, especially in East Africa?
So I think it definitely positions us very well. I think we, as I said earlier, have a good network in Southern Africa. We bought a minority stake in a company called APA in Kenya, which also has businesses in Uganda and Tanzania. And Thami, I think as you know, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, those markets are growing very rapidly and have very large population bases. So the opportunity for us to grow and create a very competitive position in insurance in East Africa is definitely something that we're very excited to do.
You've just highlighted, part of your strategy, which is very much acquisitions focused. It really is around building partnerships to expand access to insurance as well as financial services. You're targeting not only individuals but also SMEs and corporates. Along with this acquisition strategy, are there new products and services perhaps or other capabilities that Hollard gains as a result?
Absolutely. So I think the big thing that we do gain, I think you're exactly right, that partnerships are a really important way to grow. One of the big things that we gain is the network. Banks have a very wide distribution network and access to a large number of customers across a whole range of income levels. So that access is absolutely crucial, and that's something that we really appreciate. I think a big focus for us, so Hollard is a purpose-led organization, and our purpose is to help people to create and secure a better future. And our belief is that insurance really creates the opportunity to do that. And there are lots of people on the African continent who don't have access to financial services, and particularly to insurance. And as a result, their families, go back years in terms of their financial positions. If there is an event like a breadwinner passing away, or need to a business getting burnt down, or any major risks like that. So I think there's a huge opportunity for us as insurers to lean into providing solutions to people who haven't had access to insurance before. So that's definitely part of our purpose and our vision on the continent.
Correct to say that the South African insurance market is perhaps the most mature or one of the most mature on the African continent. Would that be an accurate assumption to make?
It is, Thami, and I think particularly in terms of penetration. So South Africa has probably the largest insurance penetration of any market on the African continent. Absolutely.
And so in moving from region to region, country to country, what type of adaptations need to be made in order to be able to cater to the idiosyncrasies of specific regions? Are there any sort of cultural dynamics that need to be considered, and perhaps product suitability for those markets? What have you observed?
Thami, that's an excellent question. I think some people look at Africa as a continent and think that we're all the same. Right? And I think culturally, the nuances are very, very clear in all of these markets. So I think one of the key things for us is that we don't believe in running insurance businesses from South Africa. So the first thing we do is we invest in what we perceive as the best management teams in each country, because you need to have a local management team in Namibia, in Botswana, in Mozambique, in Zambia, to run that business, because they're the people who understand the market, understand the culture, understand the nuances, and are really going to be able to go down to the grassroots and understand the needs of the customers and then develop products for that are suitable for those markets. So really having the right, strong local management teams is something that we see as a competitive advantage for us.
And yes, these are acquisitions. How do you plan to move forward as far as the brand identity in these new territories? Are these companies going to be fully integrated under Hollard, or will there be other trading names that will be put in the forefront?
So these companies, as part of the acquisition, will be over time integrated into Hollard. But in terms of the products that are sold through the Absa Bank relationship that we will continue now going forward, those will be Absa branded products. So there will be Hollard branded products that are sold to Hollard customers directly and customers in general in the market, but products that are sold to Absa will be Absa branded.
All right, so those would be basically the white branding, I guess.
White labeling.
White labeling. So those would be white labeled Hollard products under the Absa brand.
Absolutely. Because to an Absa customer.
And what type of time span are you looking at for this complete integration? Because you did mention that these companies would over time be integrated into Hollard.
So I think we are very realistic. Integrations are difficult, and I think we're very, very aware that this is a journey that we're going to go on. We think that it's a 12 to 18-month journey to fully integrate these businesses into Hollard. I think taking into account the culture of where these new Holladites, I would like to call them, come from, and then integrating into this new environment, I think is definitely a journey and something that we don't take lightly. So there's a whole lot of investment in terms of change management, in terms of culture, that we're going to go through over the next 12 to 18 months to make sure that we integrate everyone properly, so that we can then make sure that we provide the right level of service to our customers going forward.
Mr. Praveen Kalpaj, thank you so much for that update as you continue taking the continent by storm. Shall I say you're painting it purple?
Purple.
You're painting it purple. There you go. Thank you so
much, Thami.
All right, have a good evening. Thank you so much. That's the CEO of Hollard, Praveen Kalpaj, as he says, painting the continent purple. East Africa very much there under their radar. That's how we come to the end of Africa in Business for this afternoon. We do have Joël standing by for Vue d'Afrique. Bonjour Joël.
Bonjour Thami, bonjour à tous les auditeurs de Channel Africa et particulièrement ceux de Vue d'Afrique. Alors sur Vue d'Afrique aujourd'hui, il sera question de la Mauritanie. La défense de l'ex-président Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz dénonce sa condamnation à 15 ans. Et nous parlerons aussi de la Côte d'Ivoire. Tidjane Thiam retrouve son fauteuil à la tête du PDCI, mais aussi, et ce pour les grands titres de la restitution de la 27e œuvre royale pillée par le général Dodds. Nous sommes au Bénin. Merci Thami.
Merci beaucoup Joël.